real-time applications. She will explain the real-time applications where we can use the data for the productivity of industries.
Thank you,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
you can start your session, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So very good morning to one and all present here. So today we are going to see about deep learning techniques and in what is the amazing applications is comes under the deep learning techniques. So before I'm going to start about this session, I would like to know about from you what is machine learning and what is deep learning. Why we need to go for deep learning techniques? Anyone can tell what is machine learning? Yesterday's session we saw about this. So you can tell or you can text in the chat box. Anything is okay. Anyone? Okay. Okay, we will start with artificial intelligence. So, because ML and DL techniques are subset of artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence is we are enabling the machines to think like human. Think like it's a just a replica of human intelligence. We are making the system, and we are making system with intelligence. So it is called artificial intelligence using some logic. How our logic or how our intelligence is improved is based on our experience. So like that, we are feeding some logic, and if we are feeding learning is deep learning is a subset of machine learning. It takes the decision with the help of artificial neural network. Artificial neural network is nothing but it's acting like our human brain system. It's our acting like our brain neurons. Okay, so why we need to go for deep learning? In what circumstance we have to use machine learning, and what is the conditions and what is the scope we have to go for deep learning techniques is the matter. Okay, we will see about some concept and some of the important points in machine learning. Then we will move to deep learning concept. Okay, so first machine learning. So the basic definition of machine learning is we are enabling the systems to make decision on their own based past data. That means some historical data or some training data we are providing to the machines. It will take some decision on the data and it will produce some output based on the training data or past data or historical data what we are providing to the machines. So for the data, how much data is required for machine should learn? It is small amount of data is essential to learn the learn about the information. Okay, we are inferring some information from the given data. So for machine learning we need small amount of data that is enough to predict some information. Then how the performance the perform for performing this operation, how the machines computing power should be. We no need to use GPUs and all because we are working with small amount of data. So it is enough to use GPU, CPU itself. Okay. So for ML algorithm, we need fast data. Small amount of data is enough to work, and low power machine also is enough to work with ML algorithms. And we have to find out features from the given original data. We will perform some feature engineering over the data, and we will perform the classification to find the recognition or classification and whatever our objective is. Okay, so this is ML algorithm, and we have some the learning techniques also. We have 4 different learning algorithms are there under ML. The first one is supervised learning, second one is unsupervised learning, third one is semi-supervised learning, fourth one is reinforcement learning. So can I know what is supervised learning? Anyone can answer? Yeah, what is supervised learning? We have some training data, and as well as we have labeled for the training data. Okay, this is called supervised learning. In unsupervised learning, we don't have the labeled outputs. So we have to make it as a clustering concept to predict these and all comes into class 0, these and all comes into 0 class 1. Like that we will perform some clustering operation to find out our labels or outputs. Okay, this is called unsupervised learning. What is semi supervised learning? It is a combination of supervised and unsupervised concept. So in this semi supervised model, in our training data, 15 percentage of the data may have labeled one, the remaining 85 to 85 percentage of the data may be unlabeled one. These combination will be called as semi supervised learning. How the model is performing in the labeled with unlabeled data and producing some decision over here is called semi supervised learning. And what is reinforcement learning? Reinforcement learning is we are performing some operation over the environment. Okay, and based on the environment we are learning based on our experience in the environment, we are learning some information. The information might be a penalty for us or it may be a reward for us, but we are getting some experience over there with the environment. That is called reinforcement learning. So that if I get the penalty, I will improve myself. If I get reward, I will improve more over than that. Okay, this is called reinforcement learning. So many learning techniques are there. So why I need to go for deep learning? Everything is there in machine learning concepts, and whatever we need to perform over here is best, because the low power machine itself okay, and we no need to the coding mechanism also is easy. We can easily feed the what is the features available, what is the classification techniques are available, everything is there in machine learning. Then why we need to go for deep learning techniques? Please, I need a reply. Why we need to go for deep learning techniques now? Everything is
Uh,
available in ML and AI.
Ma'am, am I audible? I'm not in the
Yeah,
mid screen.
yes.
Ma'am, actually, what I have, I mean, basically, what I have perceived from deep learning that in case of normal ML machine learning algorithm, we need some data or features, right? So, in order to feed the features into the machine learning model, we need to extract the features. But in case of convolutional neural network, for example, don't need to separately extract the features by using the I mean repeated operation of convolution to a particular data set. For example, an image, required features are extracted, and that could be fed into any supervised machine learning model, and which is considered the the end layers in convolutional neural network. So this
Yeah.
is the advantage over of deep learning over machine learning.
Yeah, excellent. What he said was it's an amazing explanation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
So deep
madam.
learning, why we need to go for deep learning is I no need to extract any features manually. In machine learning algorithms, suppose I am giving a input image, I have to extract what is the shape information, whether I have to extract the shape information or texture information or color information, or I have to detect edges or corners. I have to select these features and will perform the classification operation. But in deep learning technique, I no need to bother about what feature is important for my given image. Okay, the convolution layer itself automatically extract the features and it will perform the classification. So deep learning is a end-to-end classification mechanism. We no need to bother about feature engineering part. Okay, this is one concept. The another one is when we are having a large amount of data. Okay, at that time our machine learning algorithm will hard to find out the decision. Okay, in that condition we can use the deep learning mechanisms, which is very helpful for vast amount of data. And also when we are dealing with vast amount of data, what is the problem? We need the computation power. So we have to go for GPU techniques, so that parallelly our process will parallelly our data will get processed, then we can get our outputs. So that for deep learning techniques we need large amount of data, and when we have decided that our input is complex one, it is a complex data, it is hard to find the features, then we can directly move to the deep learning technique, so that the complexity input will be solved by the deep learning algorithms. So it is a end to end manner, we no need to bother about. the given feature, what is the feature is important. Those things we no need to bother. And the main application here is speech and image recognition techniques. This is because in image recognition, 10,000 classes we can classify, and speech recognition also, from speech to text, text to speech. Those information will be complex to learn in the machine learning algorithms, so that we are moving for deep learning techniques. Then this is the concept. So in ML algorithm, here ML represent machine learning, DL represent deep learning. Ma'am? It's not audible, ma'am. Features from the, we have to analyze what is the feature. Am I audible now? Yeah, ma'am. Yeah. Okay, so we have to extract the feature from the image. These features may be edges, contours, or shape related features, or whatever it may be. Then we will feed these features to the ML algorithm. It will train the model and it will produce the classification or regression output. Okay, then we will go for deep learning technique. I no need to bother about features or what is the classification algorithm I have to use. Okay, just we are feeding the input to the model. The model itself will analyze, in the first layer it will analyze what is the age, in the second layer it will analyze what is the contour, in the third layer it will analyze how we are making the shape to the given image or region of interest which is present in the given image. Okay, so based on these analysis, these features will be passed to the classification, that is called fully connected layer. It will make decisions to whether it is a classification, whatever it may be, classification problem or regression problem, it will produce the output. So ML is a two parts. ML is subdivided into two parts. The one is feature engineering part and ML modeling. The DL algorithm is end-to-end model. We no need to bother about features part. Okay, so how the data is represented in the deep learning. Okay, so here I first suppose if my given image, given input is image, then my deep learning model, how it will be take the image. Okay, in first step it will take vector of pixels, because image is a collection of pixels, so it will take vector of pixels. Then motif means some structure or pattern it is deriving from it, some part information, what is the contours over here, and then what is the edge information present in the image. Likewise, it will be in each and every layer, it will extract some useful information to predict our final output. Suppose our given image is video. What is video? It is a collection of frames. So it will extract image frames in the first layer. In the next layer, in each and every frame it have to work. So pixels per frame is a second layer's performance. In the third layer, deltas per frame. Like that, in each and every step, it will extract some useful information. At the end of the state, it will find out what is our objective. Okay, suppose we extract characters, then words, clauses, sentences, like that the process will be extended. Okay, this is in each layer how the data is extracted from the deep learning using deep learning techniques. Okay, then suppose our given input is speech. Mostly this is our input data, right? Text, video, or image or speech, this will be our input data. So I am taking these things. So in speech, in first state it extract the audio, then it will extract the band information, then frequency information, wavelength, modulation, phonetics, like that. In sequentially, it will in each layer it will extract some information and it will be find out the proper output. So this is the hierarchy of representation of a given data. Then what is the advantage of deep learning techniques? So first point is we already discussed we no need to extract the features, so it will automatically extract the features, and it knows how to reduce and what is the feature is important to the model or not. So we no need to tune the model anything, so it will tune optimally for the desired outcome. The second one is robustness to variations automatically learned. So the first, it is very fast to learn the things. Then reusability. Suppose reusability in the sense, suppose I am making the classification model of birds classification, I can transfer this learning mechanism to find the vehicle classification also. This is reusability. My objective is bad classification, but I can use the same model to classify the vehicle also. Okay, this is the concept is called transfer learning techniques, because the reusability technique is one of the amazing thing in the deep learning models. Then fourth point is we have GPU. Now the in day-to-day life, there is a lot of data is available in YouTube also, in and also in pandemic situation, there is lot of data is uploading in day-to-day life. So when the data is improving, what is happening in the technology? In technology wise also, we are improving a lot. So many GPU technology is improving with a low price concept. Okay, and so that massively parallel computation through the use of GPU. So scalable for large volume of data is the one of the best advantage in deep learning. We can process for vast amount of data also, we can process our training model with limited time. Okay, so this is the deep learning advantages. So for any doubts? Okay, silent. Okay, then we will go for deep learning versus ML algorithms. So this is the problem. This is the flow of DL or ML algorithm. It is same, but the only thing is we will do feature engineering part in ML part, but in DL part we just design or model the architecture of architecture of neural networks. Okay, so our given input is problem definitions. We will prepare the data for to fit the our model or to fit our given input, given trained data. So data preparation part will be there. We are feeding this data preparation to the model architecture, which is learning the information from the data, and based on that the ML algorithm will train. The trained model will be saved, so we can test our input data. Finally, model deployment. The same thing in ML algorithm. The only thing what we will do is we will extract the manual features here. Okay, then the applications of deep learning techniques. So deep learning techniques, the first one is image recognition. Image recognition concept. Suppose I have a variety of birds, I have variety of dogs, I have a variety of vehicles. So for each and every scenarios, there is a lot of difficulties present in there. So using that, how in the complex scenario also, our model should work very fine. In that manner, we are using deep learning techniques, we achieve that amazing results. So image recognition is one of the applications. The next one is natural language processing. Natural language processing, anyway, we are at the end, when we are feeding the input to the model, we are playing with the numbers, zeros and ones only. Our system knows we are playing with numbers only. So natural language processing, we can the automatically we can convert one language to another language, speech to text or text to speech, and whatever it may be, we have to convert to numbers. Text to numbers conversion is the matter. So natural language processing is amazing thing in deep learning techniques. We can perform because yeah, we have a vast amount of document. From that we can perform some sentimental operation, sentimental analysis, sentimental analysis, document classification. These are best example or application for natural language processing. Sentimental analysis, I have to, this is my objective, I have to find sentimental analysis on the 10 lakh records. Okay, so 10 lakh records is not possible to work with machine learning algorithms. So we are going for deep learning techniques when the data is large, our system might go slow, or it might hard to find the solutions. In that space, we are need to move to deep learning techniques. Then the prediction of stock price movements. Stock price movement is real time. We have to collect the data and we have to predict the stock improvement. So that there is in deep learning we have LSTM concept, a long short term memory concept, which is a best memory power technique, which will be used to predict exactly. So the prediction of stock price movement will be the best example in deep learning techniques. Then the drug discovery, which is useful to find out some proper the drug interaction is a sensitive information, because this drug should be interacted with this one. Suppose misclassification is happened, it will be it is not good, or it is not safe for us. So drug discovery and better diagnosis of diseases in healthcare is one of the application. Then speech recognition for physically challenged persons, speech recognition technique is giving an amazing result here. We can from the text we can convert in the text is converted to speech. It is an amazing one. We are whatever they want to talk, they can through the text they can talk. So the speech recognition technique. The finally robotics and self-driving car. Robotics fields are it's a best application, because suppose in the large building, okay, in the 54th floor a person is painting, okay, what if he falls down? It is in that situation, it is so based on these things and based on these practical applications, making us to innovate some new things. So robotics, the painting robot is one of the amazing one, which is help the human to save the human also, in it is reducing the human works also. So this is the one of the best application here. Then self-driving car. Nowadays it is not available in India, but there is in many countries they are using self-driving cars, which is more accurately driving than human. It is a prediction, because based on our mood we will drive our cars. We are happy, we will slow, or we will move fast. Based on our mood we will driving. But when we are going with self-driving cars, it is not doesn't matter. It will play whatever the rules or whatever the logic we are feeding to the model. So self-driving car is one of the application in deep learning. So I tell the three amazing applications to make the research, or to make ourselves innovatively think. So first one is automatically adding sounds to silent movies. Okay, so we are feeding the silent movie to the model. The model is giving sounds to the movie. Okay, how amazing it is. Because based on our experience through seeing the movies, we know, suppose the fight scene is coming, this will be our music behind that. Suppose the sad scenes are coming, we know some slow music will comes behind that. Okay, this is our learning based on our experience with the with our past experience. Okay, so that we are making the machines to think like that. Okay, 100 examples of video with sounds. Okay, we are feeding the model. Okay, it is extracting the sounds, it is extracting the sounds based on the scene, it is making decision. Okay, suppose some fight scene comes, this should be the sound, because in 1,000 example of videos it will analyze. So it is in a deep learning model associate the video frames with a database of pre-recorded sounds and select a sound to play that best matches what is happening in the screen. Okay, so how it is happening? So it is happening because of the deep learning techniques. It is used the combination of a CNN model and a LSTM recurrent neural network model. Okay, this is the LSTM, which is a long short-term memory. It will be very useful for video processing and speech processing, because we have to track number of frames or number of speech. In speech we have a enormous amount of list will be there, so duration will be there. So like that we have to extract strong memory to grab from first to end. So that time we have to use LSTM concepts. Suppose anybody working with video concept, video recognition, or abnormal activity detection in videos, abnormal human behavior in videos, like those concepts in video oriented research, you can use long short term memory. Okay. Then the amazing thing is automatic machine translation. So suppose we are giving some words to the machine, it automatically translating into another language. Tamil to Hindi, Hindi to Tamil, English to Tamil. Like that, so many language conversion is there. The automatically translate the word. How it is possible? Because we are training our model with lots number of data using deep learning technique. We are come up with nice solution and nice automatic machine translation algorithms. So then deep learning is achieving top result in two specific areas. The one is we are converting automatic translation of text and automatic translation of image. Nowadays, text to images also by wonderful applications, which is playing a main role here. And text translation can be performed without any processing of sequence also. It is also done in using deep learning techniques. Okay. Then suppose the LSTM method is working fine, and still we have to improve our model, means we can use stacked network. So 2 to 3 4 of LSTM combination will be stacked together and will perform better result. Okay. Then automatic colorization of black and white images. So suppose our grandpa's photos will be in a black and white image. I would like to see them in a colorful images, or I like to make them as a color like our present images. Okay. So what we will do, traditionally we will apply some colors using some painting, or some manually we will do some operations, like background should be in black color, face should be in skin color. Like that we will put some effort over here. But using deep learning technique, we no need to bother about what is the color we have to provide. Those things we no need to bother. Just we are based on our algorithms, or based on our processed data, it will be extract the information from the original image. It will automatically fill it. Okay. The main thing is how much we are trained the model, how much it is learning from the given input is the matter. And it is one of the amazing applications I like from the research. So, okay, we saw about what is deep learning, why we need to go for deep learning, what is the applications, what is the amazing field real-time application is there in the model. So I would like to saw about CNN model, how it is actually working, what is the layers are there, what is the internal operation over here. Okay. So CNN model, CNN, convolutional neural network. So much of after so much of convolutional, our model will predict our output. Okay. So here my input is here the digit recognition it is, and my given input is 2. Okay. So the given input size is 28 cross 28 cross 1. Okay. Here 28 is width of the image, this 28 is height of the image, this one is my given input is by means grayscale image. Okay. Suppose given input is grayscale image, this part will be represented as 1. Suppose my given input image is RGB color, or it's not a grayscale image, then it will be represented as 3. So RGB color will be the meaning for that number. Then from this given input, I have to perform the convolution operation. Here I am performing my first convolution operation. Here, what is convolution? Convolution is the operation which is extracting the features here. Okay. In the first feature, in the first convolution layer, it will extract very low level features. Okay. Very low level feature in the sense it will extract the edges. Okay. From this, because whatever input we are feeding the model, the first one from the image we have to extract is edges. So it will extract in the edges in the first convolution layer. Then we will perform with some kernel operation, and with valid padding operation it will perform. We will see these parameters in the next slide. And after this convolution operation, we are performing max pooling operation. Okay, suppose my given input is 28 cross 28. I am performing some convolution. It is changed to 24 cross 24. I no need to perform the same size. Okay, I have to perform some downsampling operation to reduce the size so that I can perform very well. So that we are performing some max pooling operation. So max pooling operation is nothing but we are performing some downsampling techniques, or we are reducing the original size of the given input. Okay, so after this, this is the combination. This is the layer one. We are performing convolution operation followed by max pooling operation. Okay, in the next step, again I am performing some convolution operation followed by max pooling, because in the next phase I detected the edges. Now I have to find out some contours or some recognition I have to find. Okay, so in the next phase we will find out some useful feature information using the convolution operation. So once the convolution is performed over here, we have some end result in the matrix format. My model is this convolution operation is fully connected layer or dense layer, we will name it as. Okay, this fully connected layer also, I no need to bother about a single layer I should use or nothing like that. We can use enormous layers also. Okay, then finally my fully connected layer come up mapped with our outputs here 0 to 9. 0 whether our given input is 0 or 1 or 2, like that, up to 9. My class file is there. Here our given input is 2, so my algorithms should predict as 2. Okay, so how the value will be in this output layer? It will be some probability value. Suppose 0.01 is the probability the given input is corresponding to the 0, like that. Suppose 0.98 is probability of 2 category means we will go with the maximum probability value. So in the other final layer, we will find out maximum probability value will be our output. Okay, so this is the basic CNN model we have to perform on the given input images. And this is the convolution layer. We will see about how the convolution is performing, how the pooling operation is performing. This is the input. I'm taking the 6x6 matrix. It might be taken as a pixel values, and I'm performing some operation, convolution operation. So this is the filter value we are taking. This filter is 3x3 filter. The filter is the main thing which is extracting the information from the given pixels. Okay, so there is so many filters to detect. Suppose we need to detect the vertical edges, there is a filter. Like that, so many filter, Gaussian filter, Sobel filter, Privet filter, like that, so many filters are there, so that it will be fit our model with this filter. So we are performing some operation over here. Okay, we are taking 3x3 matrix from the given original image, and this is our filter which contains 3x3 matrix, and we have to multiply these two matrices, 4 into 1, 9 into 0, 2 into -1. This is the operation we are performing over here. The resultant will be 2. Okay, just we are multiplying these elements with filter, and we are getting the result 2. Okay, here we are performing some parameter operation. Suppose I finished this operation, how I will be move? The stride is 1, so I have to move here. Okay, I will move this one, I leave this one, and I will move to this 3x3 matrix. After performing this 3x3 operation, I will move to next one. Like that, the stride equal to 1 means I will move one step forward. Suppose the stride is 2, I will leave the 2 steps, and I will perform the operation over here. The padding is 0. Padding is when I am coming here, I may miss with this cells, right? I don't have any value here. At that time, my algorithm will make it as a 0 and will perform operation over here. Okay, then here kernel size is fitted into the 3x3 filter size. Here the kernel size, this is the filter size 3x3, so we are make it as a f equal to 3. Okay, this is the operation performing in the convolution layer. And the next one is pooling layer. In pooling layer, we are performing for downsampling or reducing the size of the given image. Okay, suppose I am giving the original image 224 cross 224, it will downsample to 112 cross 112. This is the operations, because we no need to work with the given input size itself. We can make it as a small one and we can perform better, so that we are performing max pooling operations here. Suppose I'm doing some max pooling operation here. 2 cross 2 cells I am taking and performing max pooling operation. Okay, 2 cross 2 filters. So 1 1 5 6, this is 2 cross 2 matrix. What is the maximum value present here? 6 is the maximum value, so I'm taking 6 is the maximum one, so I'm taking out of it. From this 4, I'm taking 8 is the maximum. Out of these, 3 is the maximum. Out of these, 4 is the maximum. So this 4 cross 4 matrix is turned into 2 cross 2 matrix with meaningful information. Okay, this is the information present in the given image. I am downsampling using the max pooling technique. I am getting this 112 cross 112 images, which actually contains the original image information. This is called pooling layer. Okay, in pooling layer we have two types. So we can use max pooling operation, either average pooling operation also. Here average pooling means we have to add these 4 divided by 4. Okay, likewise add these 4 divided by 4. 30 plus 2, 32, plus 0 plus 0, 32. So 32 divided by 4, 8. So this is the operation we will perform in average pooling, and most of the research paper is performing very well in using max pooling operations. So so who were working in the convolutional neural network or deep learning model, better go for max pooling operation. You can trial with it's a the totally it's a trial and error method. You can go for average pooling also, but research says that max pooling operation gives better result. And this is the DL feature extraction visualization. This is a given input. In low level feature, it will extract some using filtering condition. It will extract some horizontal and vertical information present in the given image. In mid level information, it will extract some features from the given image, which is extracted from the low level features. In the high level feature extraction, it will recognize it what it is. Then finally, this feature will be given to the trainable classifier, which will produce the output. So this is the DL feature extraction and classification. So yesterday we saw about some of the packages, Python, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib. Okay, so these 4 things, Python language we are performing to build the DL model. NumPy is used for statistical information or any numerical computation. We can use NumPy. Pandas will be used for 1D and 2D array concept, or if you are using or working with data frames, we can use Pandas framework. Then Matplotlib, the past visualization concept is derived from the Matplotlib function only. So Matplotlib is a visualization package which is giving better visualization metrics like this. Then once we are prepared our data, we are giving the data to the DL model. In DL algorithms, we can use sklearn. Yesterday we saw this, the TensorFlow, Theano, Keras, these things. Today I show how to build the model using Keras. Okay. Then finally, we are seeing our final result, whether it's a classification or regression. Okay, before I'm going this, I like to show some how to build our model. Is it visible to everyone? I hope is it visible to, yeah. Okay. So yesterday we saw about Anaconda. Using Anaconda framework, we can go for Spider or Jupyter Notebook, and using that we can code our model. Okay. So I don't have such a systems. I don't have enough space to my machine. Okay. for those persons, it is the best one. Okay, just use Google Colab. Okay, Google Colab for Python. Okay, it just need our email verification only. Just open an account here. It will produce. It will give a coding spot IDE. We can use for a coding purpose. Okay, I already created some of the files, so I have that. So before you are using that, you have using mail ID. You create your Jupyter notebook. Okay, there is a lot of codes are available here. You can see here, and you can directly execute it. Okay, suppose here as the sample, this is the multiplication one. Just we are clicking this, it will run. Okay, so like that we can practice our Python tutorial here. And here, if you are using a new model, uh, go to file, click no new notebook. Okay, it is just look like Jupyter notebook. I'm using Jupyter notebook because in each and every line I can execute and see. Once the line is executed properly, then I will move to next line, so that it will be easy to practice Python languages. So like that it will become. So we can suppose I am importing something, import numpy as np. Okay, just click the run. Once it's executed, we will perform some other operations in followed by. Okay, so and also suppose we have a large amount of data. I don't have any GPU with me. We can use Google Colab. It contains the GPU connectivity also. Okay, we can use a large amount of data here. We can work here also. So I like to show some of the examples. Okay, so this is the information which is used to find whether my machine is contains GPU or not. It is a Google Colab. They are providing GPU usage also. So if the device name equal to TF TensorFlow.test GPU device name, whether it finds the GPU, it will produce this print information. If not, it will produce GPU device is not found. Here GPU device is found here, so it is giving 0. Just we are typing the information and just clicking this, it will perform the operation and it will produce the result. Okay, it is very nice one. You no need to go for Anaconda or anything. You can practice here. If your machine is not affordable uh, uh, to run a new software or anything, you can practice here itself. Okay, yeah, my machine contains GPU. Not my machine, it's a Google is providing to run our model in their GPU machines. So this is the library which is used to run the deep learning methods. This is the packages, initialization packages. Import NumPy is statistical for statistical or numerical computation. Those things we can use for NumPy. So it is this name NumPy. We no need to give further fully. So we are make it as simple, and we are make name as NP. So in future use, I just use np.float, like that we can use. Okay. So this is matplotlib.pyplot. It is used for visualization tool. So I'm name it as PLT. So future use, I no need to use this line. So it's simply plt.show, like that I can use. Then hash matplotlib inline. This line is used to, suppose I am performing some operations. Okay, like I want to show some images. That time the pop-up window will produce the images. Okay, I no need to visualize the images in pop-up window. It will be give the image in here itself, in the in this notebook itself. Means we have to mention this line, so that it will produce the images here itself. Okay, then we are performing we are importing Keras. In Keras there is a model which is using which contains the sequential is a package. Sequential is our model should perform in sequence sequential manner. Okay, like the convolution is the first layer, followed by max pooling, followed by deep learning, then again convolution. Like that, the sequence should be arranged using this function. So model, from Keras model we are importing sequential, and from Keras layers we are having these functions. Dense layer, it is nothing but fully connected layer. Convolution 2D is convolutional layer for 2D operations, 2D images. Max pooling 2D, pooling operation, max pooling. Dropout is used for, suppose our model is comes with overfitting problem, then we can go for dropout method. Then flatten we saw in our architecture, it is converting the 2D matrix to 1D array. Okay, this is called flatten. So we are initializing, importing. This is the basic initialization we are performing. It is very simple example. Yeah, you can use. Okay, people will think like deep learning is a much complex and complex task. We can't build the model, but it is very easy because so many libraries are present in the Keras and TensorFlow models. You can utilize it. Okay, so here from Keras.dataset, this is the inbuilt CAFR10 packages. Okay, CAFR10, it is a dataset name which is a classification dataset which contains these images: airplanes, cars, birds, cats, deer, dog, frogs, horses, ships, and drugs. These are the classes present in this image. Okay, so we are just loading the data set. Once the data is loaded, we are segregating this data set into train and test images. Okay, so it is a supervised technique which contains the train images with its label, test images with its label. So this is called supervised model. So we are performing some deep learning model here. Okay, so once so this is our output classes, right? So directly feeding these output classes, we are making the system learn better. We are making these classes into the categorical order. Okay, categorical conversion we have to perform here. So for this we are using from Keras.utils import to categorical. It will convert the given text into the categorical information. Okay, so we are printing the shape information, how the train image, how the shape means how total number of images, what is the width and height of the images, whether it's a RGB image or grayscale image. Those information we can retrieve from shape information. So this is for training data shape. This is testing data shape. We are extracting this from this information. Okay, then we have to, okay, I have an enormous amount of trained label. Suppose in this label I have so many inputs like horses, dog, like that. So many labels will be there. I no need to extract all the information, so I have to find the unique one. NumPy is used for statistical, right? So it is used to extract the unique number from these trained labels. Okay, NumPy we already defined it, import NumPy as NP. So we are using this here. So np dot unique of trained labels. So this is the class. So in this class, the unique values of the classes will be present here. So this unique value length will be our number of classes, total number of classes. So total number of classes will be n classes, and output classes will be the unique value. Both are same. Okay. And suppose matplot.pyplot, we make it as a PLT. So we want a figure to show in this matrix size 4,2. Okay, figure size we are mentioning. Else we can just remove this point and we can show our image also. Okay, it will be work. And display the first image in the training data. For whatever we are doing, we will do a test drive, so that whether my input is fitting or not, my input is showing or not, whether the model is taking our input or not. Like those information we have to visualize and see those questions answer. Okay, so we are plotting the first image in the training data and the testing data as well. Okay, we are performing this operation here. So after this run, we are getting training data shape. Here training data have 50,000 images. The images contain 32 cross 32 size. and it is a RGB color. Okay, previously we saw 1. It is a 1 means zeros and ones, so it is a gray color. RGB means it will be make it as a 3. And it is the class label. It's have one row, single row only will be one single, but horizontal vertical row will be there. So 50,000 rows will be here. Then testing data shape. Testing data shape, we are taking 10,000 test images. This is the height and width of the image. This is the RGB color. Okay. So total number of output, how many class we have taken? 10 classes. So this is the 10 classes, and output class is 0 to 9. Okay. Then this is the train and test sample image visualization. Okay. So once we are we know now how much training and how much testing data, almost we prepare the data. Now just we are giving. Okay, this is some pre-processing steps. We no need to bother about this information. You directly apply the input to the model. Then whenever the error comes, you come up with error or improvisation comes, you just reback and reshape the model and do the exercises, like whether we have to convert the data types or not. The data pre-processing, we can just trial and error method only. Okay, we have to feed our model to lies between zeros and ones. Okay, so we are just converting the given input, as it's a RGB color, it will be light between 0 to 255 value. So we are converting here, we are scaling it as 0 to 1 values. So this conversion, then the categorical change is here. Okay, after this categorical change, our given input model, suppose the original label is 6, after the categorical information it will be changed to like this. Okay, so suppose zeros, this is 10-digit value. Okay, uh, for all zeros it will be correspond to one class. For all zero, here I'm making it as 1 means it will be making it will be comes to another class. Okay, here class 6 contains converted into one hot encoding, using one hot encoding, it is converted like this. Okay, like that all the 9 class variable is converted to like this. Okay, one hot encoding. Okay, once okay, my data is now prepared. Now I initialized the model, I fit the original data, and I saw the shape of the information. Once I see the shape of the information, I how the data is visualized, and how to make the machine comfortable, we are converting it into the categorical variable and floating values. Those information I performed. Now data is cleaned and ready for building the model. Okay, so now the main DL model. Okay, so we are defining here, we are defining a definition, create model. Okay, under this definition I am providing model equal to sequential. This sequential information, this function only make the following information in order. Okay, so model dot add. Now first layer is what? Convolution layer. So convolution 2D. This 32 is a filter size. This is the kernel. This is padding operation. Activation function. What is the need for activation function? Anyone knows? So activation function is used to introduce the non-linearity into the neural network. Okay, it is used to help the model to learn more complex function without any NN would be only able to learn linear function only, not like that. It is producing non-linearity to the model. It is making the model to complex, and it is fitting the model into the generalized manner. Okay, so there is a n number of activation functions are there. Here we are using ReLU as activation function. Okay, what are the other activation function? If you anyone knows, can you name it as what is some other activation functions? Yeah, sigmoid. Other than that, so sigmoid, ReLU, leaky ReLU, There is an enormous amount of activation functions are there, but most of the DL model using ReLU as an activation function in hidden layers. Okay, so in hidden layer we have to use ReLU as an activation function. At the final end of the layer, that fully connected layer should use softmax as an activation function. Why? The softmax layer is performing argument max operation, which is taking the maximum probability. Okay, suppose our given output is giving some probability value. Based on this probability output, which is the probability giving maximum value is our output. So at the final layer we should perform softmax activation. So activation function is used to provide the non-linearity to the model, to make the model to learn in the generalized manner. We are using activation here. Okay, so ReLU is the activation function which is helpful to use fit the model in the convolution layers. Okay, then we are fitting the input shapes. Okay, here we are fitting our input shape. Okay, then in the second layer, it is not necessary we need to use a second convolution layer. Not it's our trial and error method only. We can make it as comment and we can make a run. Okay, so after this convolution operation we have to perform max pooling operation with 2x2 matrix. Okay, so we saw in our PPT how it will be perform max pooling operation. So we have to perform max pooling operation so that the given input size will be reduced here. Then we are performing dropout. Dropout is used for avoid the overfitting problem. Okay, so here I would like to tell what is overfitting. Anyone can tell what is overfitting? Okay. Okay, overfitting. It is a modeling error which occurs when a function is too closely fit to the limited set of data points. Okay, yeah, what it will do is it is too much. It will learn the given trained data. It will learn the data like memorized the data. When we are feeding the new data to the model, it can't recognize it properly. It can't provide a better result. In training, it will give 100% accuracy, but when I am giving the test image, it will give only 20 to 30% of accuracy. In the sense, what it is doing, it is reading and or memorizing the given input data itself. The trained data itself, it's memorized, so that our model is not performing well. So that condition is called as overfitting. Okay, what is underfitting concept? So when the data is, my model or algorithm, it is common to ML or DL algorithm. When my model or algorithm doesn't fit the data well enough, okay, that is called underfitting. Suppose I am getting training accuracy as 30, testing accuracy as 20, it is called underfitting problem. Even my trained data too, it is not learned by the machine. It is called underfitting problem. Okay, so overfitting is too much number of accuracy in the trained data, but very less or poor accuracy in test data. Underfitting problem is we are not at all we are not at all getting any good result in train or test. Okay, it is called underfitting. So this overfitting problem is overcome by dropout techniques. Okay, because in dropout technique it will randomly omit some of the neurons. It will stop some of the neurons or mute some of the neurons randomly, so that the machine will make it as a complex one and it will take a decision to learn generalized one. Okay, yeah, the model should learn the generalized, then our test data will produce to high accuracy. Okay, so that we are using dropout mechanism here. Okay, so this is the layer one. Okay, in the layer one we are giving convolution operation, max pooling operation, followed by dropout. Okay, initially when you are trying, don't use dropout. You just use convolution max pooling operation. When your model is finding with overfitting problem, then you add the dropout model here. Okay, so in the next layer we are adding convolution with filter 64 and followed by max pooling and dropout function. Likewise, we are fitting the model. Okay, here 3 layers we have fitted. First layer 32, 32, and 64 filters. Okay, so after this layer, we are flatten the given matrix. So after the flatten, we are performing fully connected operation. Fully connected or dense layer is saved. Here 512 is the filter size. Okay, then here we are giving the relo activation function. After the dropout, we are performing, this is the end class. Okay, this is the end layer. N class is here, N class is 10. The activation function we have given is max softmax activation function, so which produce the maximum probability value as a output. Okay, so return model, so we define the model like this. Okay, so very easy concept. Okay, else your model is very small, your data is very small, then you go for one single layer. Okay, just run the single layer and perform the fully connected layer, the final fully connected layer concept, and you can run your model and see your result. Okay, because for some applications even a single layer produce a amazing result, so you can try a single model, single layer, then go for complex layers also. Okay, adding some more layers to the model, and using the dropout, how it will be performed, without dropout, how it will be performed. Okay, we can just play with this deep learning model. Okay, then once we are performing this model definition, we have to compile this model. Okay, in the compilation step, we have to provide what is the optimizer I have to use, and what is the loss function I have to see. Here it is a, here loss function is categorical cross entropy, because my given input is multi-class input. I have 10 classes to classify, so it is a categorical category, so I am giving categorical cross entropy. Suppose I am my objective is binary classification, I can use binary underscore cross entropy. Then what is the metrics I have to use? Our main objective is here, classification problem, our objective is to maximize the accuracy. So metrics is accuracy. Okay, so once we create the model, we build the compilation. After that, we are just seeing our model summary here. Okay, we can see what is the model summary. Okay, just we will run here. Okay, I didn't run the front on. No? Here input shape. Suppose I am giving 32 comma 32 comma 3. Okay, then just run this model. Here number of classes also. We can run the model, but the data set will take some time to load. That's why I'm manually giving the numbers. Okay, so once our compilation is done, this is our sequential order. Okay, in the first layer convolution 2D, the shape is 32 cross 32 cross 32. It is the filter size. Okay, then the 32 cross 32 size is reduced to 16 cross 6. Then after this dropout functions, we are doing 64 filter size. Okay, Like this is the output shape and this is the parameter. This parameter is nothing but just multiplication of this value. Okay, this is called the parameters value here. At the end layer we have 10 class classification, so 10 number of classes. This is the total parameters available at the end of the layer. Okay, then we have to place batch size, how much batch size we have to provide, and how much epochs we have to provide. And suppose I am giving some 10,000 epochs, the model will run up to 10,000. Is it a good one to set the epoch to run 1,000 or 500 like that? No need. We can stop our model using some value loss approach. Okay, so suppose our validation loss is minimum when it is crossing the minimum, like I'm increasing like 1.1 1.1 like that, it's increasing, suddenly it's dropping to 0.5, I can stop my model. So like that, using validation loss I can stop my model. So this is used to stopping our epoch, callbacks dot early stopping technique. So we can use like this. We are fitting our model using our train data, the corresponding label, test data and corresponding label, how much batch size, and where to stop our model. These functions will be used to train our model. Okay, I already trained the model. Okay, it is giving I just gave the 5 epochs, it gave 59% of test accuracy. When we are increasing the number of epochs, it will be give a different result. Okay, then we can fit our how much training loss and validation loss. For 10 epochs how it will be, for 20 epochs how our loss, like that the analysis we can see using our visualization techniques. Okay, this is number of epochs versus accuracy. How much accuracy we got at which epoch, those information we can get, we can visualize and we can learn from it. Okay, so coming back to the slide, so this is the concept, or if we are working with DL model, we have to learn, we have to know about what is convolution layer, what is pooling layer, what is fully connected layer. We know, we already saw these 3 layers function, and we know dropout is used to overcome the overfitting problem. And what is batch normalization? So batch normalization means we are just normalizing the input to make the neural network to as stability. So stability of the neural network, we are normalize our input. It is called batch normalization. It is used to improve the accuracy. Okay, suppose anybody is facing with the issue of improving the accuracy, please go with the batch normalization technique. Suppose we have our model is working fine, I need to improve my accuracy, as well as I have a overfitting problem issue, means we can use this two concept, batch normalization followed by the dropout method. Okay, then in our model we saw epoch, batch size, iterations, right? What is these 3 terms? Can anyone tell what is epoch? What is epoch? So anyone? So it represent one iteration over entire data set. Okay, it will take a one iteration over entire data set to the feeding to the model. It is called epoch. Okay, what is batch size? Batch size we mentioned, no, 16. We use batch size 16, 8, 32, like that. We will the 8 multiplication we will use a batch size. What it is? So a batch size is we can't pass the entire data set into the neural network. Okay, I have 50,000 test image, trained image. I can't feed the 50,000 images into the one set to the model. Okay, so that time I will divide the data set into several batches and I will feed the model. Okay, so batch size I am setting into the 16, means first 16 input, 16 data set will be given to the model. The next 16 will given to the model. Like that, batch wise it will provide to the model. So what is iteration? Iteration is the total number of images in the training data divided by how much batch size we are mentioning. Okay, suppose 10,000 images we are taking as a trained image, 200 is our batch size, means the iteration will perform 50 times. Okay, 10,000 divided by 200 equal to 50. So iteration will take 50 times. Okay, so this is the concept, is necessity to learn to build the DL model, or to perform some project in the DL model. Then essential to run CNN or DL model, we have to get the data, we have to understand the data, whether it's comes under classification or clustering problem, like that we have to understand the data, and we will do some hands-on experience to implementing the model. Before that, we have to normalize the given input and one hot encoding function to the labeled data. Okay, label data we can't directly provide, so we are performing some encoding operation before feeding the model. Okay, then we are performing some Keras basic things, the package initialization, these things, the dense layer increment, the Keras sequential model initialization, these things will be performed. After that, we will model our architecture, how much layer we should follow, how much kernel size we have to fix, how much max pooling operation, or whether it's a max pooling or average pooling, those information we can finalize, and we can construct our model. Finally, we can train our model, and based on the training model result, we will predict our test data. Okay, this is the steps we have to follow with CNN or DNN techniques. Okay, so this is suppose anybody is facing with I have a low number of data, I don't have enough data, only 1,000 samples only I have, but I want my model is not work, my data is not fitting with the ML algorithm, it's not giving proper result in ML. Those person can use deep learning algorithm also. Okay, suppose our data, given input data is given number of total number of training data is limited, we can add some more data processing, data pre-processing, to increase the given input data itself. Okay, so here the oversampling technique I would like to prefer, because suppose if you have 1,000 data, using the oversampling operation you can improve your number of data. And using image augmentation technique is one technique which is producing so many replica of given data, given input. Okay, for each and every image it will produce some 50 to 100 images. The images may be a vertical difference, some vertical differences, some rotation operation it will perform and will produce, and some scaling operation, zooming operation, zoom in zoom out operation, so that lot of information, a lot of operation will be performed over a given input data set, and it will be produced so many training data, it will add so many inputs to the training data, so that our model, our training data set size will be improved, we can perform our deep learning model. So data is not limited data is no problem at all. We have oversampling technique, and also we have data augmentation technique. We can introduce those concepts into our input data set. We can perform our DL algorithms. Suppose if your data contains imbalanced data. Okay, suppose I have a 4 class files. Okay, C1, C2, C3. I have C1 class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. Okay, in class 1 I have 100 images, in class 2 I have 200 images, in class 3 I have 300, in class 4 I have 100 images. Okay, this data set is a imbalanced one, because I have many images in class 3 and less images in class 1 and class 4. Okay, this is imbalanced data. What it will be produced in the output is, in test data, many of the information or many of the test data is predicted as class 3, because the model is overtrained on class 3 information due to its due to its size of the inputs. Okay, so in that case we have to make it as balanced data. In that case we have to learn this imbalanced data to balanced data conversion. Okay, so here we need to learn two terms, majority class and minority class. Okay, here what is majority class? 300 and 200 is majority class. Minority class is this 100 sample. Class 1 and class 4 is minority class. Okay, so large amount of data or observation for one class is called majority class. Very few observation for one or more classes is called minority class. Here we have to make it as class weight. Okay, I am having this class. Okay, I am giving a weightage C2 for C2 and C3. I am giving weightage 1. Okay, I am giving weightage 1. For class 1 and 4, I can give the weightage like 1.98. Like that, I am giving some more weightage to this model so that my model will be turned to balanced one. Okay, so for that we have one function called in sklearn library. We have compute class weight function is there. It will make our model, make our data set into balanced one. Okay, then we can use oversampling technique. In minority class, I have 100 in C1 and C4, right? Here I can introduce oversamples here. Okay, some replicas I can make it as some changes I can do with the input, some scaling and scale out changes or rotation changes I can perform, and I overloaded the samples here. Okay, this is called oversampling. Okay, undersampling also we can perform. What is undersampling? I have many data in class 2 and class 3. I can reduce the data to 100. Okay, I can eliminate some of the data from here which is not at all useful information to the model. It is called undersampling. Okay, oversampling is majority classes to increase the number of minority class observation until it reach the balanced data set. There is many oversampling techniques is there. I will share this slide to all of you. Please have a look. And undersampling problem is we are undersampling the majority classes. So we are throwing out some unnecessary or easy to learn characteristic from the model. And just the Keras model, we have to define the model, we have to compile it, followed by we have to fit our model. Finally, we predict our given input. Okay, the finally it is the amazing one, the Keras tuner. Okay, so I don't know how many layers I have to give, how many filter I have to use, how many steps I have to follow. Those information I don't know, and I don't like to practice it or make trial and error information. I don't want to do. Okay, for such a lazy persons, they have a function is called Keras tuner. Okay, this Keras tuner is building the hyperparameter tuning value. We just build our model. Inside the model equal to Keras dot sequential. In this model, we are adding the layer which contain the hyperparameter optimization. Here, minimum my model contain 32 filter, maximum my model can have 512 filter. So it will perform some operation. 32 how it will be work, then for 64 how it will be work, 32 plus 64 how it will be work, like that. So many operation it will be performed in between 32 to 512, and it will be produced some optimal result. Okay, it will give our convolution layer, this is the number of convolution layer giving this much accuracy, like that it will produce. Then we can in optimizer also, suppose I am using Adam optimizer. In this Adam optimizer, we have to specify learning rate. I have 3 learning rate. I don't know which one I have to choose. It will give a choice to these 3, and it will make a algorithm run. It will produce some result. Okay, so we no need to bother about how many layers we need to give, how much learning rate we need to, no need. Using this Keras tuner function, it will predict our hyperparameter tuning. Okay, so how many number of hidden layers we should have, how many number of neurons we should have in hidden layers, and how many which is the learning rate is fit to our model. This information is the hyperparameters. This is done using Keras tuner. Okay, use this function and make utilize. And thank you. It is open for question session. Any questions? Please raise your questions. You can type and ask.